Watch! Hey, what is up,
What's
everyone?
up, guys?
Welcome to a very special episode of the Second Watch. It's our very first intervention. Back in the '80s when they had like the sitcoms had those very special episodes. That's this one. But before we get into all of that, I just want to say thank you, everyone who's showing up. As always, we really appreciate you guys. And we have Brian here today. Brian, long time no see. How you been, man?
Doing all right, doing all right. I'm on my fourth beer. Ran a convention game earlier for about 3.5 hours, so let's fucking go.
Here, I thought we might be primed too early. Very good.
Yeah.
How was the game? What convention were you at?
BrawlCon, Sugarland, Texas. I mean, everywhere in Houston. Gary knows what this is like. Everything is basically Houston, but it's these outlying suburbs. It's like somebody takes a mallet to Houston and just smashes it outward. So we're wide but not dense. I don't know. Texas is pretty dense in other ways. It's Fridays for conventions. I don't know how often you guys, but it's usually pretty light because people are still coming in from work, coming off of planes and stuff like that. So, but had a great session, and I'm very much excited to run my stuff over the next couple of days because you always continually refine. Whenever you're running the same thing over and over again, then you just get better at it. So yeah.
What game were you running?
Shadow Dark. Yeah, of course.
Hey, I needed to ask.
Yeah.
Drink.
Oh, okay. Are we doing that? Okay.
Yeah. Every time Brian brings up Shadow Dark, we're drinking.
Disco Barbarian with our first super chat of the night. Thank you, Disco. $5. Yar dog, brothers and soul sisters. Week is done and time to chill. Painting more dwarves for Stonestein. Will they ever end? Drinks are poured. Entertain us.
All right, let's entertain them real quick. I know you have some stuff you want to talk about, Matt, before we get to my intervention, but I have to ask each of you, DM Cloaker, we already know you have gamed nonstop this week, correct?
Yeah, last couple of weeks actually. Yeah, it's like two games a week. But it's in person stuff. It's just part of what we do. So yeah.
Yep. No, good for you, man. Good for you. Are you running purely Shadow Dark now, or did you run your 5e?
Yeah, I got my paid 5e, then my regular 5e, and then I got my home Shadow Dark, and then I got my game store convention Shadow Dark deal. So I'm basically just
you're a man on the town. Let me tell you.
Something like that.
You were out there. Matthew, you getting gaming done this week?
I have. Eric Atomic from my server. He had his Monday night hostile game. We only played for like an hour and a half because it's super late. So it's been like basically he presents us with like one issue that's in a string of issues that we have to deal with. A lot of it's consequences of our own making. But our little fledgling, I don't even know what to call us, fly by night mercenaries are double cross some other mercenaries, took their mind controlled synthetic workers and sold them to the very people that the mercenaries were going to sell them to, but super cheap. So we came out with a bunch of money, even after discovering some weird plot involving it was pretty cool. And then Thursday last night, Atmost and a few others from the server, Melkor and Paladin, helped me finish playtesting the expanded, updated, and improved Return of the White Wizard module for Shadow Dark. It was cool, almost a TPK. But man, it's funny. Like I'm thinking in terms of OSR, and I'm like, oh man, this might be a really tough villain. But I mean, there's still enough 5e elements in the character classes where they can all of a sudden pack a punch when they need to, and those guys pulled it out. However, they never found the White Wizard's brain. So Traxar the White will be able to clone himself, and he lives. So I'm just throwing that out there. They may have defeated him, but he's not out for good. And then tomorrow, Gods of the Forbidden
There he goes.
He goes
North with my in-person gaming crew. I'm really excited. And this is out of the 6 players, 4 engaged in Downtime, which is
That's incredible.
Yeah, they're starting to understand and get it. So I'm really excited for tomorrow because I have no idea what their plans are. I hear in the private chat that they created just for Downtime, there's a lot of arguments on what to do next. So I think that's a win for me. I'm very excited.
So ironically, I didn't get any gaming in this week. But it's been a busy week for me. It's Texas kids football school.
Yeah.
Things are pretty crazy.
Y'all are
right
back
now.
to school on the 13th, right?
We're back to school actually Tuesday.
Oh,
we have not started yet, but football started about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. So
the religion is on.
The religion, yes, it is that season. And I really couldn't be happier. Also, one thing before I talk about game related stuff, if you see me rubbing my eyes, know that I cut a pound of habaneros early. And I've washed my hands. I have done dishes. I have cooked dinner. I have washed my hands again. And I swear to God, dude, I still have this shit on my fingers.
Oh, wow. Look at your palms.
Yeah. It got crazy. So anyway, I didn't get any gaming done, but Melkor, we're talking about Downtime tonight. And Melkor, who's he's a champ, dude. He is a champ. That dude talked to me about what he wanted his character to be doing for Downtime. And we traded Discord DMs for probably 15, 20 minutes. And he got a lot. Like, he got a lot done. So I had just added, Melkor had suggested a book, which the name is, I can't remember, on Downtime and something, whatever. And I just copied and pasted like a whole section into the primer. And then I read it to make sure I knew what was going on. But Melkor just took advantage of it. I put the primer out. I let everybody know they were Downtime activities. But my players don't really seem to care a lot about Downtime right now. We've got one player who's really taken advantage of it. You're doomed, Gary. Good luck. Grab a glass of milk and splash your eyes as needed. I'm just going to drink through it, Bacon. I'm going to drink through. This was full a minute ago.
Yeah. That's what they do down in Texas.
Yeah. Medicine.
Well, alcohol is a pain reliever, I hear. That's why I tell my wife it's not just for emotional pain.
Yeah. Gary will be drunk soon. I'm drunk now. Thank you. I come prepared. And it says, screen share this primer. I could, but give me a second here. I got a lot of things open and I don't have the best computer in the world. Hold on.
By the way, Gary, habanero tequila Il Padron out of Total Wine. So good.
So
we have Tequila Thursdays around the Serafine house. And so that's our get it started. So that habanero tequila is outstanding.
I hear you. It is. I have had that before, or I've had habanero tequila. I don't know if I've had the same. Let me look through. I don't want to put this primer on the screen, dude.
Why not?
Because I don't want to. I don't know. Hang on. I gotta find the Downtime section.
Isn't half the fun sometimes in seeing how the sausage is made?
No. I could tell. As someone in the culinary industry and in the legal industry, you don't want to know how the sausage is made. Well, I got to be honest. And I'm that guy. I never read the primer. But in my defense, I always looked at Downtime as a little broader. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Because I'd rather
I am a coward.
Get from you sort of like
real quick.
Your issues are, you know what I mean?
Let me tell you, let's talk about Downtime real quick. Downtime is something that is really kind of foreign to me. And you guys know we've talked about this before, that when I started playing role-playing games, it was red box, blue box, green box. Bought the other two, but never played them. Uh, Marvel came out, and we played that. Like that was more up our alley than fantasy. Fantasy's not my favorite genre. And then Star Wars D6 happened, and we played that. Then after that, it was just, oh shit, it was Shadowrun, and you guys know, there was all those
You
cool
just move
games.
from one game to the next.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and
Downtime
we
never
go back,
became a
and
thing.
here's the
Yeah.
thing: the game we went back to was never D&D. It was always Star Wars D6 or Marvel. We'd venture out, and we'd always come back.
Especially if you're playing Fatal. Okay, anyway.
That sounds like a wretched module.
I think you just gave him an idea. Anyway.
Yeah, right. So anyway, the whole thing is those games were never really sandboxy.
True.
Right? They I mean, I guess with Marvel there is like that city expansion that, comes around, and it kind of has a patrolling thing. But it's not sandbox. It's not a real sandbox. And Star Wars is far, the D6 game assumed that you were being given missions by the rebellion.
Right.
It was never supposed, I mean, until later, and freighters and all that kind of shit came out. The Bounty Hunters book was awesome. But anyway, the point is downtime was never a thing. We were always in an adventure.
I don't know. And I wasn't there in the beginning. But I don't know how much of a downtime was really a thing regardless. I mean, back when I was running games in the early, I started in 88, right? It was more like you do an adventure, and then your character has to take a couple days to heal up if they don't have a healer or anything like that. And then they go back out on another adventure. I mean, there was those, but like, especially in
one-to-one time. So like that healing time was like, whatever the fuck, you're healed.
Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah. You just sort of hand
How long has it been? How wounded were you? It was that long.
Yeah. So downtime really never became a thing, I think, until I maybe this is I don't know the origins, right? But I'm just speculating here. I'm just riffing. Don't quote me, but maybe downtime became like a symptom or a problem generated by the use of one-to-one time. I don't know, because downtime has also been I've used in non one-to-one time situations, which I can talk about, and I do want to talk about in a little bit. So for me, downtime was always more about character development and less about game mechanics or whatever.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It was just the shit that you saw in the book. It was magical research, crafting magical items. It was strongholds, which quite honestly, like when you were a kid, nobody ever got to strongholds. Nobody, you know what I mean? That just never happened. Because nobody gave a shit. So,
okay, so
yeah, so really, so here's the thing. The first time I really started hearing about downtime was right before the pandemic, maybe right at the beginning of the pandemic, somewhere in that 2020 area. Yeah.
There's a reason why. Continue.
No, there is. And
oh, that's interesting.
I think that was when I first started reading, like everybody was on 5e.
That's it.
Remember when I had my like 3 weeks of 5e where I was like, oh, fuck, this is great. And then I tried to be a DM for it, and I'm like, oh, fuck this shit.
Yeah. High fructose corn syrup. No, I don't want it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a little section about downtime in there. And then, they, like I say, they had structures and magical research and all that beforehand with the system that I like. But they never said during your character's downtime.
No,
I don't even know in BX if they said between adventures.
It was between adventures was the general nomenclature that was used for it, but it was purely a 2014 construction. And so it's, for better or worse, we're giving the devil their due by continuing to use that terminology, because it's easily understood. It was chosen for a reason that vanilla players could come in and understand. Who can't understand downtime? That's life. And it was generally associated, obviously, with stronghold building and spending wealth to gain station and ranks and so forth. But And probably a large part of the reason why it never was so foundational, whether you were moving in between systems, like what you were mentioning, Gary, because you had the excitement or the thrill of new discovery, or because it was just, hey, we just hand wave it, hey, you're healed up, because it felt like an obstacle trying to figure out all the ins and outs. It felt like bookkeeping. And the last thing you want to do is a bunch of bookkeeping. You want to go ahead and get emergent and start being able to make decisions and have situations. So it really is one of these things that's really come out of the, the new generation of the last, 10, 12 years, where it's had an identity and it's had a framework, and now it's become a culture. And there's still a lot of static in between it, because it's kind of like defining the OSR sometimes,
Well,
right?
and
You
there's
can't get a
no,
clear.
there's,
I think
and
that's
that's
fair.
the thing.
Yeah.
You can't like just go look for downtime. I mean, you can go look for downtime rules now, right? Like I say,
But
I always thought it was strongholds, magical research, possibly training. And I think BECME, you're allowed to train skills, right?
yep. Yeah.
So
We're
there
doing
was
that now,
that.
actually.
Yeah, and then without one-to-one time, I never had a player ask me, what do we do between sessions? I never thought of it.
Yeah.
I feel
Well,
like I'm just digging a hole for myself.
no, not
Hit like and
necessarily.
subscribe, motherfuckers. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of go to Brian's point about the nomenclature. Yeah, I don't ever recall using the words, the phrase, what do you want to do for downtime in the 90s? But there was definitely conversations with my player group after an adventure completed, like whatever story arc I was working on. Back in the 90s, I had an adventure path style game that ran for 10 years, and there would be these things that they would have to do in service of what was going on in the world, right? But when those adventure arcs kind of died down, I just kind of like, so what do you guys want to do, and there would be conversations like, where the paladin player wants to know, hey, I kind of want to, find my, because he's 4th level or 5th level and he wants his horse, right? Like, is there something I can do for that? Or I have a magic user or a dwarf who wants to build something, construct something, you know what I mean? So like we would handle that at a game session, so it wasn't as like regimented or formalized. Is that the word I want to use? Formulaic? I don't know, like a one-to-one time situation would demand. But we did kind of do that sort of thing, and then there were times where it was kind of, mandatory because, they didn't have a healer and they were injured. I'm like, guys, you're going to be laid up for 5 days. But that was like a 10-minute thing as everyone's like
Right.
doing whatever, and then we get back to the adventures because 5 days had passed. I actually think that's a benefit of flex time. You don't have to worry, you're just moving on. But I want to say that the concept, the idea was there in the beginning, and I just don't think, kind of to your point, Gary, no one really ever had it. Very few, I should say, had the opportunity to explore it. You know what I mean?
We just never talked about it. Everything happened
because you were moving on
table.
to another game.
Well, I was moving on to other games, and then now don't get me wrong. It's not like I never played D&D after that, right? I want to say I played a little bit of 3 or 3.5. I never bought anything because I was playing these other games,
right?
And fantasy was just whatever. Yeah. I don't know. There was just no fucking thing as downtime. And then what I have found is after Shadow Dark came out, drink.
Is it when you say it or when I?
It's when anybody says.
It's when anybody says Shadow
I just want to make sure.
That's 3. That's 3 sips, by the way, because we said Shadow Dark. Oh, that's 4. Brian, I'm just trying to get you drunk so you get in trouble with your wife.
You don't have to try too much.
Too late.
It's all right.
Well, Gary,
what I was going to say is since Shadow Dark, and she put the carousing section in. Now I don't know that she invented carousing, but that's when all of a sudden my players were like, I want to go carousing. The fuck are you talking about? I got to go make a chart. Anyway.
Yeah, I knew we were going to get to this point, and I just want to say, I think carousing works great for Shadow Dark because Shadow Dark is built on that play loop. You go
Right.
out, you get the adventure stuff. You go out on an adventure, you get the
What's
gold, you
it?
come back, you burn
Fun calls it the sin wave. Sin wave. Is that what?
The
sine
sine
wave.
wave.
Yeah.
Sine wave. Sorry.
And it's reminiscent of that like scene from Conan the Barbarian after the heist, right? They have the successful heist, they got the big jewel, and then we have a montage of them just getting fucking blasted because they spent all their money at the bar, and then they have to go out on another adventure. I think that's great for that style of game. But I don't know if it's necessary for a game like OSE. I don't think it's necessary for a lot of
Well,
games.
I don't think it.
But
I don't think it
that being
hurts,
said,
and it
no, I'm
gives
not saying it
players.
hurts. I
Yeah,
didn't say
and
it was hurts. I just don't think it's necessary. And to your point about now people wanting to go carousing, I think you have a good point. That's a good point. Like the influence of that chart on like I guess the community, the culture. So Downtime, like I said, I think it's always been there. It's just now it's becoming a little bit more formalized. And the real question then is the more interesting one, in my opinion, is how do you formalize it? And Brian, I talked to you a little early. We don't have to get there now. I actually
No,
was
not
hoping we
yet.
save this for later, but I know you have something you provided your players, and it's radically different from what I'm doing with
Well, I
my
mean,
players, and I'd love to compare and contrast. But Gary, what I've been wanting to ask you is because you said something, I can't remember if it was in a text, chat or whatever, or maybe it was like we were just on video after a show or whatever. But you said something about one-to-one time not working, and I wanted to ask you,
in
do you
what
remember that?
context? No.
This is the thing, I honestly don't remember. But it was about like
Was it
you
about
were
another game?
no, you're just about downtime.
Okay, so this wasn't downtime. We were talking about one-to-one time, and I was trying to figure out how to do because I spent the week pretty much reading Star Wars D6, the original, first edition, and kind of skimming over some of the galaxy guides. And I think what I was asking was, if you give everybody a fucking spaceship and you have all these long travel times, how could you do a sandbox? How could you I'm explaining myself, motherfucker.
No,
How
it's just something else. It's related to something else. Just
okay.
reminds me of an old In Living Color skit of like the prison guy who's like becoming literate and he's always using words wrong. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, the point is how do I turn that kind of game into a sandbox?
Oh, okay.
Would it even be possible to do? Would one-to-one
Because
time work?
I thought you were concerned because I it's one of those text chats that we have where we're like talking about two things at the same time. So okay, my bad. I thought you were saying, and this wasn't like an indictment. Like one-to-one time, I like why what goal were you hoping
the
to
reason
get,
here was the thing, if you were doing a Star Wars game and you had characters, I mean, in a 3-hour session, a character can spend 2 weeks to a month in hyperspace easy.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Not counting the adventure time. You know what I mean? So for me, I felt like time jail in that situation is a bit extreme.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
and
absolutely.
I think some people would be like, oh, that's a feature, whatever, not a glitch. But I feel like for that
those
genre,
people are dogmatic. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't think it works. It would almost be like doing I was imagining it. If you did, I was actually looking at the rules. Like if you did a true seafaring exploration kind of adventure, like your characters would just be gone forever. You know what I mean? Like say you made the ship
You're right.
home base.
You're right. Like there is some, how do I want to say this without invoking? We should have another drinking thing. How many times can I bring up the bros? There are some definitely they're just fun to make fun of. I'm sorry. They're so memeable.
I'm gonna be so drunk.
They're so memeable. I'm sorry, but there is some issues with one-to-one time that I think they gloss over, and I don't. Their supposed solutions really aren't, but and that's why I don't put one-to-one time or flex time on a pedestal. It's what are you doing in your game and what kind of experience do you want? That should be your only guiding post. Okay, but going back to the downtime thing, so we've talked about your experience with downtime in the past, yada yada yada. Now I want to ask you this: when you started, and well, thinking about and starting your West Marches game on the server, like what were you hoping for? What did you expect? What were you
As far as
hoping for?
downtime goes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I figured that somebody would send me a message and say, "Hey, can my character do this?" The first time I gave it any thought, I think I left a message and said, "Hey," because I was pretty like I heard all these horror stories. I think the idea of an always on game is like fucking horrific. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. No,
you know
no.
what I
I've
mean?
been
Like,
there. I've
As
been
if
there.
you don't do enough work already, right?
yeah,
Oh, dude.
exactly. Like the
I
idea that somebody's gonna send me a text to be waiting on it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm like, oh,
dude.
fuck,
Let's
I
dude.
make this a job.
I was I
Yeah,
was I was in the ill-fated Oriental Adventures game at last for like maybe 3-4 weeks. I was literally getting up in my morning routine. I get up, I make the coffee,
right.
right? I then go into the bathroom to do my morning constitutional, and I'm pulling out my fucking phone and I'm looking at the DM's text to me like, so what's going on today? And I was
Yeah,
playing this like criminal mastermind named Yang Saraka, and I'm like sitting there trying to like think about the plan and trying to think about my enemies and what they're doing. It was kind of fun, but it was also exhausting. And I do think if you're open to that kind of a game, I think it's worth doing, but be prepared for burnout and don't expect to do it for very long. Number one.
yeah,
And number two, be open to having honest conversations with those participating so everyone's on board with what's going on. Like my biggest criticism of that game was some of the bros who were involved. I like literally reached out and I was like, yo, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need a little bit of help. Can you teach me? And I got kind of the cold shoulder, which kind of pissed me off. I'm like, yo, like I wanted to, so I just started doing whatever. Come to find out my character ended up being like feared
yeah.
by everyone in the
Well,
city, but
so
which was weird, but
let me
I
explain
didn't know
something.
what I was doing,
Well,
but anyway.
here's the thing, real
Yeah.
quick. I had no concept of those kind of things happening during downtime. Right? Those things. So fuck it. The whole bros are downtime.
Hmm.
Real world, real time, 1-to-1 time.
Well,
Kind of
that's
stuff.
separate. We should kind of keep that separate from.
Well, but that's the thing is, I think a lot of that. I think we're. I think their encouragement, their very vocal encouragement of that aspect of gameplay can't be understated, especially if you're like us and you're plugged in and we're always looking for some shit to talk about. You know what I mean? I think we really can't overlook that. And so they've downtime. I mean, maybe not now because they're on a whole other kick. But when I first started paying attention to them, they were doing all this shit and things were happening all the time. And when I was getting ready to do my West Marches campaign, I was like, I'm not doing that.
Oh
So
yeah.
I didn't even put anything. The first thing I put in about downtime was actually in the server. And I was just like, hey guys, if you guys want to do anything during your character's downtime, just send me a DM, let me know what it is. We'll work it out, whatever. But I'd also been like, don't blow my DMs up, like,
Right. Oh
I'm
yeah.
not, and nobody did shit. It wasn't until I put in formalized,
Really?
it, yes, until I put in what you could like almost like a turn, almost like a larger example of the dungeon turn, very much like the monthly turn in Acts 2, like that beginning of month phase that he has.
Hmm.
So
That's interesting
yeah.
because. Oh, go ahead.
However, the people who are most engaged, like Melkor, he didn't give a fuck. He's the one who suggested the book, and he doesn't give a fuck about anything. He's like, I'm gonna go carousing, roll the dice. All right, I'm putting all my money into this temple.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
that's the thing. Okay, so maybe we should get to this because well, all right. So you didn't really care about Downton. You weren't thinking about it, but now that people are okay.
I thought
So
it would be you're reading OSC. It's rules. Reading rules is written BX. You can build strongholds. You can do magical research. That's what's in the rules.
yeah. See, and downtime has been broadened. And like I said back in the day, I never thought it was like that limited. It's just like, what is your
Except
character
Fluid.
doing? Right. Yeah. So right. I'm gonna tell you the two experiences of downtime I had, and then I really want to pick Brian's brain because he shared a document with us a little while back about how he's handling downtime.
Yep.
And so the first time I really tried to formalize downtime was back in 2018, I think it was.
It's a
The
good word for it, formalize.
Yeah. So
Because it's not just about a rule set; it's about making it work within the framework of what you're doing.
exactly. Well, yeah, and yeah, exactly. So you had Xanathar's Guide came out, and it had all those downtime like activities, right? And my players and I had been running. I've been running a 5e version of Dark Sun of my own devising, right? And after about a year and a half, some issues started popping up, and part of it was due to players not knowing the rules, coupled with the fact that I had all this homebrew Dark Sun-esque rules and superimposed. And I was like, you know what? We're just going to put a pause on this game, and we're going to play straight 5e to learn it. Okay. And I picked up one of the few modules from them that I like, and it was Tales from the Yawning Portal, because it's just all these classic dungeons re-envisioned for 5e. So what I said to the guys was, we're going to do dungeon crawls. And, if your characters survive, I'll let you decide how much time is between the next dungeon. And through email, you will tell me what you're doing. And I told him Xanathar's Guide's got some stuff you can do, blah, blah, blah. And I expected, because I have some very, 5, you've heard me tell this, my guys really like 5e. I thought they were going to be like, oh, we're going to build this and we're going to do that. Da, 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 da. Fucking silence, right? I had one guy kind of he's playing like an orc knight who was working for Obold Manieros or whatever. So he was like trying to like be the orc guy, the orc emissary or whatever. And he was involved until he got some bad rolls and things didn't work out for him in downtime. I had another player who always just gives me like a one sentence thing. Oh, I just want to do this. That's my default. This is what I'm doing. Right. But then I had my best friend who I've been gaming with since the 6th grade. He and I practically wrote a novel of what his character was doing. He was playing a glamour bard, and he would go in between adventures. He'd go off into the Feywild and court the elves and learn all this new magic and this new music. And whenever it was time for the next adventure, he would randomly appear in some other forest near the dungeon site, wild-eyed and crazy. And you know what? His character from that campaign is the only one anyone remembers. Robinton the Bard. Yeah. And that's when I kind of was like, downtime really is about character development and like what you want to put in. So in that example, I had something quite formal, Xanathar's Guide, right? I don't know one-to-one time or anything like that. I let them decide how much time passed. And I got very little, give and take with my players. Currently, with one-to-one time, I'm running Gods of the Forbidden North, and I let them know via text when their characters return to Vulcangard, the capital city, and then I let them know, because usually by that point we already know when we're going to game again. We game once a month, okay, every 4 to 6 weeks, and so then they roughly know how many weeks they have. And I basically told them, you have one major action per week. So it's not like, daily, it's like weekly, right? And then I said, incidental stuff, don't worry about, we'll adjudicate it, but you got to communicate to me, blah, blah, blah. And we did have a conversation about it, because I had a couple of the players like, we don't know what we can do. And I said, well, you can look to the book to get some ideas. But then I actually told them, I don't want to tell you, I don't want to give you a list of things that you can do, because I don't want to limit your creativity. What do you want to do? And just talk to me and we'll work it out. And I said, like, think of it in terms of a bronze stain. Like, I'm going to try to use as little rules as possible. And frankly, I think I probably used the wrong word. I probably should have said free Kriegspiel. If what you can do is clearly stated such that I don't need to make a roll, then there's not going to be a roll. You'll just do the thing you said you were going to do. You know what I mean? So it's taken a little bit of time, but like I said, this past downtime, 4 of my 6 players were like actively engaged, coming back to me, saying all this other kinds of things. And yeah, so it's been good. So that's what I've been doing, and that's been I think successful compared to having something more formal.
Can I say one thing? And I hate doing this, but whenever we talk about my game failings, and I've had a few, and I think I'm more honest about it. You guys never talk about your game failings.
That's not true.
That's
We
true.
do it all the time.
You're right.
Yeah.
But when I think a lot of it is that I play with a lot of DMs who play a lot of games. Everybody I play with they're all in multiple games.
Yeah.
And I feel like downtime is something where, like, if you're playing 1, maybe 2 games, you know what I mean? And you're sitting at work, you're doing your fucking whatever your word processing job is, moving papers around. You have time to think about that. But when you got like 3 or 4 games you're in every week, and you're running 2 of them, right? I think that has a lot to do with it. I honestly don't know. I think the people that we typically play, and this is not players in general, this is the people that we play with, Matt.
Oh, the game masters. Yeah. No,
yeah, I think that we're better off trying to do one shots, short 6 to 12 kind of, campaigns, because everybody's so, they're not devoted to a game, they're devoted to gaming.
Yeah. I see your point.
Well
Well,
worded.
yeah, well, I think you may be right. It's one of the reasons why I've tried this. I've said this many times, and I will say this until I'm fucking dead. The online gaming community is different from what the actual gaming community. Okay, we are fortunate that we have we're tapped into a community online of people who are really dedicated to the hobby. So if I feel like playing a game, I will find someone who I can play with, right?
Right.
But when it comes to talking about what kind of advice we give to people, I think a lot of the talking heads are only talking to their friends online, and I want to try to give advice to the casual gamer who's like kind of into it, and that's why I want to be a little bit more practical. But that being said, I don't know if that precludes downtime. Like I'm not sure about that. Like, because I'm into it. The only reason why I haven't said anything in your game is because I've been kind of busy, and it's a drop in, drop out kind of thing.
Summer, dude, it's fucking, and I've
Yeah,
been busy
and
too.
also
So I'm not like my game sucks, it's so bad. But I do think, had I thought about downtime earlier, right? I kept hearing about it, and I just didn't give a fuck. I figured if my players wanted to do something, they would let me know what they wanted to do. The whole thing about doing this West Marches thing is that any kind of weight or responsibility, other than that initial prep, sort of the land and the dungeons and all that, you give it to your players. You give them the mapping. Like, I'm not supposed, from my understanding, I'm not supposed to be a cheerleader trying to beg people to do shit.
What? Not beg.
Well, you know what I mean.
Well, no. Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's the difference between what.
Maybe they're just done. Maybe.
No, I don't think so.
Melkor is not. I will keep this game going. If Melkor is the only motherfucker that wants to come play and he's hiring,
I don't think that's the case, though. See, I think at the end of the day, whatever we're talking about, players, and by players I also mean the game master, because they are a player.
Yeah.
They take out what they put in. Okay, and I think, going back to my Gods of the Forbidden North campaign, one of the guys who hasn't participated in downtime this week is the same guy who hasn't participated in downtime at all. And every Saturday, I hear the same thing from him. Well, I just don't know what to do with my character. It's like, well, that's just an excuse. But you know what? I'm not going to rag him about it. Like, he doesn't want to do it. He's not going to do it. And I tell him, well, this is what your character did for the past 3 weeks. You hung out at the bar, you ate, you drank, you slept. 30 gold pieces or 50 gold pieces for room and board, whatever it is, right? And I just enforce the consequence. And guess what? He's got a very boring, unmemorable character. I have Cody, who everyone met at VentureCon. That dude is making moves. It's awesome. His character is fantastic.
I wanted to play in my game. God damn it.
I don't know if he's like that into online gaming. He was doing it for me because of Lamentations. And
well, you guys are personal friends. So.
Yeah.
I will tell you the truth. I've got, just a side note, I've got about 5 personal friends who are willing to join the game. They're also the 5 personal friends of mine who I met playing Call of Duty and Overwatch and completely destroyed my last campaign. So anyway, sorry.
But I don't think, but anyway, kind of. So if I'm not going to tell you how to run your game, dude, but this is how I would, if I were running a West Marches game. I think the game master does have a bit of a responsibility to be present. So what I would do every week is sort of like look at my schedule and be like, oh, I'm available on these days. And then I would just shoot it out there. And it's like, guys, if you want to play, this is when I'm available. And then just, that's it. So they see that I'm there. If I'm not there, they may not feel, you know what I mean? So I'm not saying that's what's going on, but I
think it is. Well, I think that's part of it, because what I've noticed is that as I get, when the kids started football practice, and everything started getting crazy, welcome to Texas, right? I haven't been on Discord. I haven't really been on X. You know what I mean? I've just, because I've been busy in the real fucking world. I like it in the real world. You're not missing it. But as I was not at the server, nobody else was in my channel. And the weeks that I did go on and be like, hey, I'm available Wednesday and Thursday, Saturday afternoon, that's when I started getting messages, Yeah. So I think you're probably right about that. I do.
Yeah.
Think
so
right.
I do think, and I do hound my players, my in-person crew, kind of a bit. Like, I let them know, hey guys, downtime begins. If you haven't thought about it, start thinking about it. We're gaming in 3 weeks, blah, 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 and then, in fact, earlier, about 2 weeks ago, I got a bunch of messages about downtime and what they wanted to do. So I sent to our private group chat a meme of oh god, I can't remember that actress's name, where she's just like, and I'm like, I posted, when most of your players are talking about downtime. I'm like, like I'm swooning. Thank you guys, and I'm just kind of giving them some shit for actually like participating. But I ended up having more than just, this is what I want to do. It was, this is what I want to do. Can I also do this? What do you think? And then a conversation started, and that's exactly what I'm looking for downtime. And I have not been adversarial at all. I'm not saying I've been saying yes to everything. If they don't give me a proper explanation of what they're going to do, such that I think there's a question of success, then we roll. But if there is no question that they will be successful, I just like, okay, guys, it's going to cost you 1,000 gold pieces to pull this off, or whatever.
And what I thought, when me and you had that conversation about downtime online, I really, like I said, I put out that message. Let me know what your characters want to do.
Yeah.
And when it was informal, nothing. Mm-hmm. As soon as I gave them concrete mechanics.
Do you think that's because a lot of them are game masters?
I think there are. Yes. So, but let me explain. If you're a game master and you're constantly.
Yes, Chubby. Yes. Okay, sorry.
Yes, you may. I think it's because if you're a game master, your attention and your imagination may be focused in different places at different times. You're not really giving a lot of thought to your character unless you're at the table. So as soon as you give them like you can build a stronghold, you can go carousing, you can do fucking charity work, you can socialize. As soon as you give them those mechanical options, And in their mind, oh, this is just a fucking die roll or two that I can do before the next session. Downtime becomes something different. I will tell you, you, Reed, and Melkor are the most free form with Downtime. I almost want Melkor to come in and give some kind of sermon on it.
Yeah.
Because the first time he tried Downtime, he's like, hey, can I hire some troops and go fuck this place up? I'm like, not on Downtime, bro.
Yeah.
Like he was ready to move an army, you know. I mean, not move. I would let somebody move an army on Downtime, but he was ready to go like engage. And I'm like, dude, we're not, that's at the table.
But that's the word, right? So, I mean, you guys covered a lot of ground. And it's funny when you think about the theory of this aspect of the hobby and kind of what it was born from. And sure, probably to some degree in its most rudimentary form, it was carousing. I think there's a reason why Kelsey chose that word, because it was the most easily associated with the Robert E. Howard lore of, you know, Conan and Fafhrd, Grey Mouser stuff in between.
Yep.
So you have that as like this thing because it's so easily accessible. Who doesn't want to go out and have a good time? I remember the first time I did and participated in something that would probably be constituted in today's Wizards of the Coast parlance as Downtime. And it wasn't with D&D, actually, strangely enough. It was with Top Secret. And I had a friend of mine that he used to give me a ride to school before he went to work. And we'd grab a couple percentile dice and we would be like, okay, what is your character doing right now? I didn't call it Downtime at the time because I was writing scripts and screenplays and I had a whole different plan for myself. I called it interludes. And it was like, you know, kind of Bondian. And it was just kind of like, where are you at right now? What do you see? And it's just that immediate sense of engagement. And I think that really is where probably the whole idea and concept is born. It's born out of that sense of, I want to engage with the game. I want to feel immersed. As the years went by and I started looking at, you know, spending 15 years in a system and a session setting like Ravenloft, you kind of have to come to something between adventures. You don't have the time to ruminate on something when you're moving in between all the genres and all the systems. It doesn't ever come up. At some point, you need some glue. And you know what starts as an immersive experience or maybe just basic entertainment, something to do in chats or in between conversations, how it works, eventually it kind of goes back to what you said, Gary. It's that engagement piece. When you get the engagement piece, well, now you've got something going, but it will only go so far because the question is how do you maybe create a structure? Sure, yes, that appeals to game masters. How do you create hooks that appeal to players? Sure, there's these different things. I think that the main discovery that I've gotten out of what has now been so, I think it's actually a tremendous achievement how much the 2014 design and the Xanathar's design, it's probably one of the crowning achievements of the entire system.
I do think Xanathar's Guide is a very good book.
It
Yes.
gives you a framework that you can start from, and it's not so much as to be the end all be all, but it does connect to the system. Sure, it doesn't have to.
Yeah, no.
But what the ultimate goal is, it's not immersion because that's where you're getting back into the game. It's not even engagement, although it's necessary. What Downtime should really ultimately be about, whether it's gold or strongholds, or whether it's to Fox's point about learning wood skills in the wild and so forth, is advancement. It's about advancement. And when you're advancing the characters, when you're advancing the party, when you're advancing the concepts that people want to bring to the table, that is where the juice is. And you know, you know, it was one of the earlier adventures, but Matt, you spoke to it earlier. I'm actually running Forge of Fury under a different name, under my whole Mad Max Reign of Fire interpretation, which is Forge of Fury, Tales from the Yawning Portal. And that's actually a great vehicle to use. And I love the fact that you're saying, what do you want to use to bridge between?
Yeah, I thought, I agree. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
But then it gets frustrating, right? Because then you have, you have some players like you mentioned, well, you know, it doesn't work, or they just feel disconnected, or they get kind of maybe bored of it, and they're just kind of waiting, like, let somebody else do that, you know.
Yeah, let me just interject. The guy that kind of dropped off, like he started off being like, he wanted to play, his character was supposed to be this emissary for King Obold Many Arrows, the orc chieftain created by R.A. Salvatore. and because my buddy's an R.A. Salvatore fan. And when he started losing die rolls, when there were like things that required die rolls, all of a sudden he checked out. It was like that, what do you call that, main character syndrome. So I don't really think that was an issue of downtime. I think that was just the player, honestly, because I was just like, dude, like, what are you doing? And he just stopped sending me emails, right? But like I said, I go back to my buddy who was playing Robinton, the fucking bard extraordinaire. Like he had like literally pages and pages and pages of emails and Word docs of like all the stuff he was doing, and it was just fucking awesome. And like everyone, and we not just me, but we the collective gaming group still talk about Robinton and his fucking crazy adventures, because you're right, it is about character advancement. It's about and I prefer to use development, because I think the modern gamer does like to kind of have that idea of like this own personal narrative for their character, and I have nothing against that. Hell, I do it internally, but yeah, I think that's what you should be using downtime for.
I apologize. I see some of the comments that I want to kind of speak to, but
Yeah.
and I apologize if I actually said the words character advancement. I'm talking about advancement. I'm talking about advancement of the game state, and
Okay.
it's not about the game roles. Erudite has a comment. I think it's a fascinating.
I'm looking for it.
Bring up. It's in there, but he says, is it a couple die rolls without playing the game? Is it a hand wave or shortcut for advancement? It's a very, very good point. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the advancement of character in the party. And this kind of probably ties in a little bit to what I've been working with, that I was sharing with you guys a few weeks ago. There's a few things, whenever a new system comes out, all of the scientists and the engineers in us as game masters, we go and look and see, well, what can we pull from it? With Daggerheart, I was no different. I didn't really have a lot of interest in actually playing the game because I'm at a stage in my life where I'm a little bit more reductive than expansive. That's why I've kind of landed on Shadow Dark. But I wanted to go and look and vet Daggerheart to see, was there some threads I could pull. And the hope fear mechanic kind of lent itself into some of that. And I'm still working through it there. But go ahead, speak to it, Gary. You were saying.
So, well, earlier Chubby was talking about details. What are your characters doing? Yada yada yada. And I do want to speak to like some of the details. So I've got one character who's incredibly active, they found an old temple. He's rebuilding this temple. He's restoring it. On the down low, I don't know if he intends this, but what he's doing is as far as his character goes, he is increasing his renown and fame. Every charitable act he does.
Those are mechanics. I'm using it right now in a campaign when I gave them a 1 through 50 mechanic on renown and showing them what they gain, but also what they have to attain to be able to earn it. My players were just like, oh man, this is something we can dissect.
Yeah.
How can we use this also out of game? All of a sudden it just starts emerging. And it's
so what because he's doing a stronghold kind of thing, I have rules for that. Now I'm having to mod him because he's restoring instead of building. You know what I mean? So I'm making some modifications, and that's fine. That is really the big thing going on in downtime. Is this guy rebuilding the temple? Matt has talked about rebuilding a shattered tower, sort of another place that they found earlier. That may or may, we'll see what happens with that. But I'm getting a few messages about, can I do this? Can I do that? And that's fine, but it's very tentative. It's almost like people know they can do shit. It's almost like they're afraid I'm going to say no. Have you ever not asked a question because you're afraid somebody's going to say no? That's what it feels like. And so far, I've not said no.
So how do we overcome that?
Well,
please, guys, tell me what you want to do.
Well, this is why I've been seeing some comments where I think people are too mired in like the concept of the OSR requiring a rules for everything.
Yeah,
that's why I appeal to like that free Kriegspiel kind of like freewheeling Braunstein idea. I'm like, I if you want to do something that's not directly related to quote unquote adventuring, talk to me and we'll work it out. And if we can just, we're normal human beings who understand implicitly, we may not understand philosophically issues of causation. We do know what cause and effect is, and we can work it out. And like I said, if you're detailed enough, much like I do, I'm going to need a refill too soon. Much like I do, we'll take turns. We'll do a round. We'll do a round. But I just want to get this point before, Gary, I'm trying to educate you.
He's fleeing from your wisdom.
I know this, and this is why. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, what I was saying is like, I think that it actually like frees players up, and it's very similar to how I run like thieves. Like if I have a thief, and I actually had a player do this in my Lamentations game. First time he ever played a thief. He's pulling out candles and he's describing how he's slowly moving them along the wall, waiting for the flame to do this, because that would tell him there's a secret door because of crack. And he's like doing all this stuff, and I'm just like, he was just doing so. I'm like, yeah, you find it. You don't have to roll. You found.
He went 4D, right? And then that was
yes, cool. Exactly. Yeah, totally, so to me, it's a very similar concept. Like, oh, I want to do this thing, and whatever it is, and like, well, we'll talk about it. Now, obviously, there's going to be some sort of give and take. Like a lot of it's going to cost money. Like that's why I love about the training rules. At the end of the day, like training costs money and time, right? So you don't necessarily need to roll for that. But if you're gonna like try to ingratiate yourself with the nobility and you have like this exhaustive plan, maybe a role might be necessary, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like this is all non-adventuring kind of stuff that you're doing. So I don't see it being like creating like an unbalanced thing. You know what I mean? I don't see it doing anything other than advancing your character's story. And it's emergent, which is really key. I'm not telling you what to do. Like I said, I have a player who's running a monk who does nothing but sits around and drinks at the bar for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, depending on when we play next. You know what I mean? How much time passes. And that's his character story. And that's what I try to tell him. That's your character story. Are you good with it? Oh, okay. All right, dude. I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna focus on the players that want to engage.
The word, actually, both words, which is engage, story, right? And I know story gaming is frowned upon, I guess, by whatever contingent at whatever time is decided to thumb its nose at it. I know that there's a certain mechanical adherence that sometimes is innate with. A certain contingent of how people like to enjoy the game. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't even know, by the way, what this intervention thing was supposed to be about.
It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke on X. Shut up.
Oh, okay.
All right. It was a joke on X, and I started like saying things like,
he's burying his heart, and it's like, when do you ever see those intervention shows where the person's screaming for it and saying, "Hey, look, that's not an intervention." Intervention's when a person is so mired in dysfunction that they're absolutely oblivious to it. But no. If you consider that the point of it is to advance, come up with something, and the way you advance that story element, even if you don't have a quote unquote story game, a la Daggerheart or whatever,
right? Yeah.
The Dungeon World and all those narrative fluffy games, you're getting the opportunity to grab some thread to weave forward.
Yeah.
And that is the most invaluable aspect. I'll tell you, when I was doing Ghost of Saltmarsh 5 years ago, my wife comes out of the blue with her halfling rogue, her forest gnome rogue, and she decides that she wants to do pit fighting. It out of left field. She doesn't have a high strength. She just wants to do it because she thinks it's cool. It became an entire subplot, as it were, that was born out of situations. And that is the most important element to remember whenever you're dealing with downtime. Yes, maybe there's a mechanic. Yes, maybe there's intent. Can we create situations from that? If you can create situations, now you're feeding your future game.
Yep.
You're feeding engagement. And then there's that sense of something more fully realized. Well, I guess kind of like you were mentioning, like your buddy. Like, there was so much that went in. The most memorable character was the one that had the time to just continue to pay it forward.
And in my Gods of the Forbidden North campaign, there's a guy who's been, he's been engaging, not engaging, blah blah blah. But
okay.
I'm listening to you, man.
I'm trying to like talk.
I'm listening. I got
This
you,
is what
man.
happens.
I
This is
listen.
what
I love
happens.
you, dude. I've been
You know what I
listening
mean?
to everything you say.
God damn.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. You know what? Fuck Brian. Okay, so I'm a little drunk. Okay, so in my Gods of the North campaign, along what Brian was saying, he's been kind of lukewarm about it, but when he does engage, he's had some cool ideas, and he's a magic user, and he started working for this like magic using guild in Vulcangard, which gives him access to magic items that they sell, potions and scrolls. So I randomly rolled those, and one of them was a treasure map. Okay. And I quickly found on in the Gods of Forbidden North map a location that's queued in. Okay. And I basically took a screenshot of it, zoomed really close in, took a screenshot, changed it up a little bit, put some weird writing about the Underdark. It's called the Endless Night, right? And I tied it into a mass murderer that had been executed in Vulcangard. And this is in the book. This isn't something I created. I just tied it into that. Cody, the thief character, had heard some stuff about this guy, this mass murderer. The magic user has no idea because they hadn't been talking to each other, you see. So he's all like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Well, he's also a character who developed a skill of dream magic, because I'm importing some rules from RPG Pundit. So he starts this past dungeon downtime. He's like, I got to learn more about this treasure map before I bring it to the guys, because he knows the players are just gonna be like, fuck it, let's do it, right? And then they'll get killed. So he knows, and he's being smart. He's playing a very good magic user. So he does all this dream magic stuff and starts like, I just lay out all this information, but in dream form, such that I suspect tomorrow he's going to propose, hey guys, I got this treasure map. Let's do this today. And it's going to, and once I know, and once he mentions it, yeah, and I had this dream about some guy burning at the stake, and
your own lore,
and his skin is flaking off, creating this magical or this treasure map. Cody's gonna go, oh shit, that's the mass murderer.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
You're plugged in. Yeah.
So the downtime properly used can do a lot, and it has nothing to do. And I want to be clear here: has nothing to do whether you use a 1-to-1 time or not. It's just, are you willing to like get your players to engage? And for my Gods of the Forbidden North campaign,
I just want to say about if I'm willing to let my players engage. I'm more than willing, and I've actually been like, engage, please.
I was speaking in general, like the group, and like
that's the mistake
working
I made
with
months
them.
ago. I said you have to be, and Gary thought I was talking about him, and it was no, I'm just saying when I say you, it's like,
I think you also have to be patient. Like it's like the first downtime, Cody was the only one who responded.
Yeah.
Right. So like, and I'm constantly, I beating my head against the wall, but stuff is happening. Even one player who does not like Rule Cyclopedia, he actually told me, I'd rather be playing Lamentations than this. And I was like, really? Because I'll do it. Even he is finally like, well, hey, if this is okay to do, can I do this? Can I do that? And I'm like, yeah, can you just give me a little bit more detail? Like, what exactly are you talking about? And we opened up a conversation, and now all of a sudden his character, who is a cleric of like foreign gods, is proselytizing on the streets of Vulcangard, and that's starting getting the attention of people.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
This is, and I'm not creating really anything. I mean, I'm part of the creation, but they are too. So anyway, I'm being asked to highlight some stuff.
No, I wanted to bring up Chubby had made a statement, and then Erudite replied, and I thought it was something worth us talking about.
Oh, this one?
Talking about.
Sounds like downtime is turning into a tool for you as the GM to give hooks to the players. Well, that's to me what the Bro SR are talking about when their extreme player agency thing. And that's what I mean by Braunstein. That's what I mean by free Kriegspiel. Like the players are interacting with the world, and then we can. There will be stuff that happens from it. Like if you have, even if you're just going strictly by the book, and your fighter builds a castle, that's going to attract shit. Hell, the very fact that you want to build a castle means you got to clear a hex, which means I have to set up a session where we go clear the hex. So yeah, of course, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. What
Chubby
was
disagrees with you.
Oh, he said oops, I hit the wrong one. Where is he?
Sorry, bro. I thought it was a good comment. I love you, man.
I'm not. Oh, this right here. I'm just looking for it. Seems like this is a way for the characters to pay upkeep for the luxury of rumors. Strong dislike. Do not recommend. I am disappointed.
What's that reference to?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he means by that. Could you like what? How do you do rumors? Like players throw coins around the bar. Why not have them develop their characters and then stuff kind of logically responds to them?
We're talking to you, Chubby.
I mean, like you can't just walking into players saying they want to create a thieves guild. Their followers are going to start thieving. There's going to be a logical consequence to that. I'm not like putting my thumb on the scales. That's just logical consequence. And hell, that might generate a cool adventure. That might, depending on how they respond to the logical consequence. So I'm going to disagree with Chubby on that one. I think
I don't know if you guys are in a disagreement. It might y'all might be talking about kind of different things, but it is interesting because you think about, again, going back to the 5e piece and how they actually got worse when they started going to like the rumor boards with Rime of the Frost Maiden and such, which some people heralded that as this great thing that gave players agency. Maybe that's a little bit of what Chubby's kind of maybe alluding to, is that rumors should not be the thing for Downtime, because then that is in a weird way kind of you forcing where you want the world to be for your players. I mean, I don't even think that's what you're even saying, Matthew.
No,
I think we're talking in some different Venn diagrams a little bit right now, but I mean, the thing is that you mentioned, and I stepped out to go grab my drink, and I apologize because you were actually going into, and I came back, and I know that there's probably some things when I watch the stream again, I'll catch more. But I came in right on a beautiful word, which is always important to remember in however we're adjudicating this part of the game, which is random. It does need to have some element of randomization, because otherwise it really is just a theater exercise, So like you've got to assign something, some point, to make it a determination. And
Chubby's, I just gotta say, Chubby's starting fights.
Does he want to see spikiness, or I don't? Or
I don't know what
he came
disagreeing.
for the blood.
So what you are describing high level play. What Thieves Guild is your level 2 thief?
Okay, he wants a small. Okay, that was a hypothetical. I'll use a lower level hypothetical. I'm going to make a character. Oh, I'll use exactly what's happening with one of my players. He's got a character who's got a skill in storytelling, and so like what he's doing is trying to earn money, telling stories during downtime, going from bar to bar to bar. Cool. And the thing is, their group, they call themselves the Iron Price. They're a mercenary group. Their group has already rubbed people the wrong way. So when he has gone to certain locations in Vulcangard that are controlled by certain factions in Vulcangard, he was summarily thrown out. There's just no way he's going to get a job there. Because they don't like the Iron Price. And I was able to use that as a way to tell him that there are factions that just don't like the Iron Price. It's a logical consequence of what the players were doing in game, during game time, and even some downtime stuff. And then I communicated something. Yeah. Otherwise, well, how else am I supposed to do that? Yeah. Other than doing it during game, which is fine. I'm not opposed to that. But we're talking about downtime and maximizing one-to-one time upkeep type of stuff. So there you go. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to go get ice for my. It's my turn.
This is your turn.
It's my turn.
So I think I've been bugging Matt to send Chubby a link to chat and I think he might be ignoring me because he's drunk, or I'm drunk, one of the two.
This is our time. Chubby's always
No,
in
no,
chat.
no,
We
that's
got
fine.
it.
I
Yeah.
think but I think the part of the conversation is like downtime. You know, we touched upon this earlier. It's not. I don't think it's well defined,
Totally.
right?
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it.
Well, it can be, but like I said, my players didn't respond to anything until I gave them some sort of concrete mechanics. And you know, I like the idea of characters being able to earn some sort of experience in between game sessions. I think that's a fun idea,
It
right?
can be. It can become a mechanical advantage if it's you got to be.
Well,
There's
and that's the thing
bumpers
is
you have to
from
sometimes.
my experience with Shadow Dark and the carousing mechanic, right? What you've got is this situation where it's almost just like an XP bonus. It's like this little mini game at the end of a session,
Yep.
and it's an XP bonus. I don't
Yep.
really know that that's downtime,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because obviously original
I would
Shadow
agree
Dark
with
and the reason why is because original Shadow Dark wasn't designed for like one-to-one play, West Marches, Broser, and all that kind of
I
stuff.
agree with that too.
And when I say that downtime, and I'm going to go back on something, when I say that downtime really fits the one-to-one time mold better, I'm actually going to plant a flag right there and say that I'm right. Because when you look at the things in BX and in first edition that people were doing outside of the game, domain management, running your thieves, you know, all these things that you were doing, you know, that it was a thing. So I don't know. I don't, and how to explain this.
It can be an achievement unlocked process,
Downtime,
right?
I
It
think,
can
is all about the
totally be.
players. Like I've let all
Yeah.
my players know. I've been like, hey, what do you guys want to do in between sessions? Write it down here. If it's a secret, send me a DM. So as much as we talk about this and my failure at downtime, and I
No one
guess
said
maybe,
you're a failure. I
well,
haven't said you're a
actually,
failure.
I do
Yeah, I
think
don't
that
think that
if I
is the
would
right
have given,
word.
hold on, I think if I would have given thought to downtime before gameplay started,
Oh, I can see.
I think it would have been a much better situation.
Do
Gary,
you do feel
we
like you
just want to
shoehorn it
say
or
that we're here because we care about you. we,
oh, he's doing the
we love you.
intervention.
You know, I mean, Brian loves you.
We don't
Me,
want
I
to
could
see
give
you
a
hurt
fuck, but
yourself.
Brian does. Brian
I love
Brian
everyone.
loves me as much as he loves a lost puppy.
What are you talking about?
I'm just kidding,
You are
Brian.
not a lost puppy. Oh my god.
all right. No, but I
I
don't. Oh, go ahead,
think
Brian. Go
I
ahead.
think Gary, you're into what probably we all feel sometimes when there's something that we maybe did not have originated in our concept or the genesis of what we're trying to do, and then we want to integrate it. And the fear of integration or the fear of acceptance that it's not going to be an engagement point. You're like, well, you don't want it to be waste time. You don't want it to be an imbalance to where only like half the table really benefits from it. So there's a bit of a tightrope to consider. And
I agree.
if you have an open dialogue with your players about what you want it to be for them and how you want them to gain a sense of immersion, accomplishment, sure. I really thrive and I'm very transparent with my players. And it's part of my ongoing evolution, a little bit of that document because they gave me feedback before I rolled it out. I said, okay, you know, where do you guys kind of see a little bit of this thing and what I'm doing? And I think that they understood because I had to be candid with them. I also seek to use these out of session dialogues to create friction. If I can find something creates friction with your character, I'm going to really be able to cultivate something for you to respond to and have to make some choices of importance besides just swinging your great sword for 1d12 damage.
Baron Karza
Yeah, I
says
just saw that.
players are engaged by peers in the GM's world. Yes. As I mean, I'm trying, bro.
I'm not. Yeah,
We're going through phases. So I will say that there's been like this sort of up and down in the activity, sort of waves, if you will. I find that when I get 2 or 3 players like really kind of digging into shit and making their posts and putting maps up that there's more engagement. You know, it's contagious, right? It is contagious. One or two, a party goes out, you get 4 or 5 people together, a party goes out, they find a thing, and the next thing you know, everybody's plotting on how to get out there before everybody else. But first off, let me just say real quick, Baron Karza, that you know the whole downtime thing, and we touched on this earlier. The majority of the players I have are DMs who are playing in multiple games per week. So I think there's a little bit of that. And I do get a DM every once in a while. Hey, do I know what this is? Do you think I could suss this out? And once again, I want to add something else. I think I really fucking handcuffed myself by the setting because it's all unknown. They don't know where another city is. They're discovering the lore, right? They don't have things to work off of. So my neat idea was, you know, kind of hindered the way things worked as well.
Yeah, maybe I do see your point there, because like if it was some more established lore, players can come up with like things like, well, we're gonna go travel to this other place and then set up shop there or whatever. Yeah. But
and another factor is that when I drew my original map, there is some shit I'm really looking forward to that's just a little bit further out. And I underestimated the distance that players would travel. Right? I know that seems silly, but you're looking at
it's absolutely valid.
You're
No,
looking at 1,000 little 24-mile hexes.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That was definitely because there's
I'm going
story
through that
elements.
in my Norse campaign, in my Kelsey Norse campaign. I didn't say the word. They're getting accustomed just
What
to
game is that?
hexes.
We know what you're talking about, motherfucker.
In my Shadow Dark Midnight Sun game, they're just getting accustomed to hexing, and so they're aware of things that are in other hexes. But yeah, to your point, Gary, yeah, it could be like 5 sessions before that ever gets explored, and that's okay.
5 sessions, bro. We have a graveyard full of NPCs and PCs. We're up to like session 16 or something. We're not at 20. We're somewhere in there, right? We've got a pile of bodies, you know, and they have just started moving past the third 24-mile hex. So seems like there are categories of tasks that take. Yeah.
I just saw that. I was about to type the response.
Seems like there are categories of tasks that take a long time to do and things PCs want to do, and story narrative delivered by GM to just one PC and so on. Hey, Chubby, you know what? I think you're kind of right. Because we do have the temple construction, which is going to take a long time. And they've actually set up an account that any player, they've made it a charitable organization. Actually, any player can donate to this temple. So yes, it's definitely tasks that take a long time. There are a couple things that some PCs want to do alone. There is a accuser who it's a fucking tower and he's like level 3. You know what I mean?
That's me, if you didn't know.
Yeah, so you're there. A story narrative in my game, I'm gonna tell you the truth, there is no story narrative. There is a campaign world and I have put lore through it. But you know, I've put lore throughout the dungeons and you know other places for players to discover, but there is no story. There is no like plot line. There are certain triggering events of which they've hit none of them. And those triggering events are more like I'm going to open up one of the advanced classes in OSE, or I'm going to open up a new safe place so that players don't have to start in this, you know, in the starting city. There's going to be a new place for them to be. They just haven't traveled that far.
Yeah. I knew he was actually talking to me.
But Chubby, here's the thing about rumors. When I've done things like this before and I've actually used rumors, because I didn't really use downtime a lot, it was never about taking a week to find rumors.
Yeah.
I just figured if you were here for a week, we're gonna roll the dice and see what rumors you heard.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. I all due respect, Shelby. I think you're kind of like stuck in this OSR idea that narrative is somehow a bad word. I don't think it is at all. In fact, what is a rumor, whether it's generated randomly or because players came up with a cool idea to learn that rumor, but a plot hook to get adventure going. I don't see that as a problem at all. Like, again, I don't see the game master as just this like referee wearing black and white pinstripes and does nothing but sits there and go, roll a d20, roll a d8 now, guys.
well,
Check your encumbrance.
it depends on what part of the game you're playing.
My job is also to make sure a world comes to life. And like, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with just simply saying, you did what? You're jumping. Your character wants to jump 100-foot chasm. Yeah, dude. If I roll a natural 20, I'll do it. No, that's actually not how this works. You're going to fall. There is no rolling involved there. Cause and effect. You know what I mean? So if players stumble upon something that's part of the world, then you know what? That's your job to say, hey, this is an opportunity for you now. Whether or not they take it is a whole nother thing. Like I'm like, with the Gods of the Forbidden North game, there's like a bunch of things on that map. It's more than just a few adventure locations. There's hexes that have interesting things happening. And the only way the players are going to learn them is through rumors. And like, so I randomly rolled, for example, like this one guy's map or this what was his name? I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was the mass murderer. He's got like this location where he hid all the bodies. It's on the map. And so I randomly rolled treasure map. I'm like, well, what would this lead to? I'm like, well, I'll pick that. And I created a whole thing for it. And they're working on trying to figure out whether or not it's time to do it or not. So I don't know. I don't see that as a problem.
I think you and see fun here are you're approaching it both from your own vantages, which are valid. He spent so much time in designing a lot of great structures and content that has a systemic execution. You are also speaking from the implementation side and the inspiration side. And I don't think that these are at cross purposes. Whenever you say tasks that take long times to do, things that PCs want to do alone, story narrative delivered by GM to one PC, these categories. Maybe it's all of those. And there's nothing wrong with that because ultimately what you're looking for is again something that's going to bring your game forward with your people. So to try to stigmatize or try to compartmentalize this part of the game is ultimately it's just a very fruitless endeavor because your players are going to be your sounding boards. It's not what we think. It's not what we think.
And just
and
that,
we can't define it. And even if all three of us have very different vantages, because that again, the game philosophy is not unified here. I absolutely agree. You're right. All three of us have very different philosophies. It's probably why we do spend so much time bouncing ideas and thought off of each other. And sometimes it's a contrast, sometimes it is consensus. The idea, though, is ultimately, what fortifies your game? Does the implementation or execution, however it is that you choose to do it, further your game? Whatever this is, yes, downtime will further your game. Depends on your players.
yeah.
Gotta have conversations.
I jokingly pointed to Erudite, not because I think his response is foolish or anything. I actually agree with that if the group is okay with it. Like, again, like we're talking about like this sort of free Kriegspiel sort of idea here. I'll be honest with you. I'll be completely honest with you. This is my intervention. This is my confession.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah. Now, see, I could totally see that this is your deal.
Up until
motherfuckers,
I know
you
surprise, motherfucker. Okay.
I'm just fine.
All apologies to Avenger
because you're the pariah in between systems. I could see that this is your deal. Way more than Gary.
I think here up for a couple of years now, I've been kind of like, well, shit, is rules is written this thing, blah blah blah, because I'm the type, even when I was studying philosophy, like I would almost adopt the thing that I was studying and just like really just think about it, right? I just like to finish my point, please. And I've been doing the same thing with like things like rules as written and whatnot, and I've just come to the conclusion that at the end of the day, we're really just trying to game our imagination, and that in and of itself is just limitless. So I'm not going to tie myself. Now, that being said, I don't think it's a good idea to be capricious when as a game master. I think that's a bad virtue, the bad characteristic to have. But like after our last week's discussion with Matt Tapp, like that guy's like pulling out board games to do like complex locks in the dungeon. I think that was like brilliant. Like, what a way to handle something like that. You know what I mean? So, if downtime is sort of like kind of like this amorphous thing for character development where players recognize they're really not going on adventures, it's really more just sort of like they're engaging with the world on personal pursuits. Why do you need something like so structured? You know what I mean? And again, to Chubby's point about spending a week for a rumor, I'm not saying you can't get a rumor in game while we're sitting down at the table. What I'm saying is during that week, rumors or information might get seeded to them while they're looking for real estate to buy a house, which I have a player doing right now, or something else happens to them and they learn something about the rule. Like I don't think he quite fully understands what I'm doing, which is fine. Hopefully he learns and understands now, but like I'm not saying that at all. I just think like again, cause and effect. Players are going to do stuff, the world's going to respond, and that's what isn't that what we want as game masters? We want to be reacting to our players, not our players reacting to us. I don't know.
By the way, the rumor piece, we use that as the most pared down lowest common denominator definition. And tonight I ran a game for a lady. She was probably early 40s. She had never played a role playing game until tonight. I had the honor of being her first ever GM. And I think about, okay, if a new player like that wants to understand or engage with the game, that might be the way that, well, what do I hear? She may not know that is the whatever the rules of listening for rumors within the categorization of it. That might be her way of just engaging with the game because she doesn't know yet. And we have to sometimes remember we're applying these concepts sometimes to people who have very limited experience. They might be coming from games that are board games. They might have an anxiety about, am I doing it wrong? And that exists within downtime.
Oh yeah,
because you don't want to feel like you lose.
That was my experience with the Oriental Adventures. I was like, but go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
And so whether it's very simple or reductive, there's no wrong answer. Again, it always comes back to, can you use this, not just the character forward, and that is great when that they feel that sense of accomplishment that what they did matters, but it also can carry the campaign forward. That's the advancement piece. And back to that whole, my chart is designed around giving me and my players, like, we have that sense of discovery. Okay, we're going to go there together because there's these different levels, like the hope and fear mechanic applied to this downtime piece. And it turned out to be the most fun thing that I've done in a long time. Very cool stuff.
So I do want to, Chubby said something. He said something about how many one-on-one mini sessions. Well, that's my point. You were just headed for running a session every day to some degree. I think that's fine. If here,
so, I saw the clip. I can't.
So hey, Chubby, I want to get to you real quick. I don't want to run the game every day, so no downtime. I understand where you're coming from. So let me explain how I see downtime. When with the original activities, such as building structures, magical research, crafting magical items, whatever that is, that to me, those are official sort of downtime rules. These are things you're going to do in between these sessions, right? A lot when you say one-to-one sessions, really the way I imagine it is I get a message on Discord or somebody gets a hold of me and says, hey, I want to do this with my week. But it's all within town. Like, I'm not going to run a combat. Melkor was a great player of mine, was all like, I'm going to hire troops during my downtime and we're going to roll out and clear this cave. No, you're not. that's a big thing where your player might die. It's a combat. Fuck, it's a mass combat. You know what I mean? Because we're using Hell March. We're not going to do that during downtime, right?
Right.
Yep.
There's a framework. You
Yep.
have a
Right?
framework. Yes.
Exactly.
Very important.
But during downtime, you know, I get a message from Melkor on Tuesday that says, "Hey man, my character's been back for 2 weeks. This is what I'd like to do with my downtime." Right? And I say, "You know what? I roll a couple dice and I say, these are the fruits of your downtime labors." And I send him a message. "Hey, you wanted to learn about the temple. You've been inspecting it. This is what you've gathered." Right? You know, the engineer you hired pointed something out about this temple that, you know, he cleared the fucking hex in session.
Nice.
And then it was during downtime
Yeah, fun.
when he had hired his specialists and his workers and everything else. And I'm going to give you something else. I think that character just capped level 4. Right? Rules is written, that temple isn't his. He's restoring it. And we had that talk during, you know, it was like a 15-minute
Transparent.
conversation.
Good.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, bro, of course
Yeah.
you're expected to restore this temple, but it's not yours.
Yep.
Friction.
Understand.
That's
And the
it.
same thing with
That's it.
Matt's magic user wants to restore this tower, right? Hey man, you can do whatever you want. Just know that somebody might want to take it.
Yep.
You know
Nope.
what I mean? You're
I had
not
the-
entitled to this fucking thing.
I
That
had
exact
the
thing that
exact-
Gary's speaking to
So
is
it's
on that
in
table.
between.
It's on
So
that
it's in
table.
between. It's all of the things that
So
you want to
it's
do
there.
in town to prepare for that quest outside of town.
Yes.
Where you're making an impact on the world
Yeah.
is
impact, yeah,
inside the civilization. Now, if your civilization, in my world, I've got a fucking colony, and I have it written down how many settlers I have. When shit happens, it's real. You know what I mean? You guys are literally 24 miles away from turning your world upside down. You know, so you're
Yeah.
saying that the PCs are combat immune for that week because we are playing West March's style. Home base is safe.
And that's
right?
a conceit of the style
And
of
that
play.
is a conceit of West Marches.
Yeah.
The conceit of West Marches is that you start at home, you venture out.
Yeah.
Once you leave town, now what's happened in my game is Melkor, what if someone comes to fuck up the temple and there's a fight? I will say this, I've given that some thought. At the moment, there is not, because this is sort of in my first zone starting area. There was at one point a large group of enemies who may have attacked the temple, and in fact, they were in the hex right next to it. However, Melkor, my fucking hero, it wasn't.
No, it was Reed.
It was
Reed?
Ultra.
Yeah, Ultra.
It was Reed, and
Yep.
it was Melkor.
Yep.
They hired a bunch of ass kickers and archers, and they went down there and cleared out like 50 fucking bad guys.
If I may, on that point too, like there's rules going back to freaking AD&D about like dungeons repopulating. So it's not unheard of to have like just people like walk in and take things. Like he said, you don't own this. You're restoring it, but you don't own it. And that is enough for, like, as far as I'm concerned, the game mechanics and support. And on that point, I just want to, like, what Chubby's bringing up, like, he's not necessarily wrong from a cause and effect perspective, but there comes a point where you have to draw a line. Like, how simulationist do you want to get? All right. At the end of the day, this is a game. And if what you're saying is, like I'm saying in my game, you have 1 week to do some major action, and I'm not trying to define it, just like what is it, and we'll talk. You know, I'm going to look for real estate and buy and build this, or I'm going to research a spell, or blah 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 blah, whatever it ends up being. You know, that's just a conceit of the game. It's something you have to just accept as the game state, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. Like, if we want to get super simulationist, I think we're actually going to get into a point where we're in a quagmire where we don't have a game that's possible. And I think we do have to draw a line there. And I don't think anybody is going to give a shit other than going back to the very beginning of this conversation, game masters who are tied into this shit. Players are not going to give a shit. Just tell them what they can and can't do in terms of the parameters for engagement, and they'll be fine. And like I said, I got 4. I'm so excited for tomorrow. Anyway,
Hey, real
go
quick,
ahead.
Chubby, your last statement, so they can tell you what they are. It will eventually lead to drawn blades. Are you talking about like player versus player or inside the town? Because the West Marches style doesn't really allow for conflict in town. It is, bro, it's completely it doesn't like if you're trying to be a simulationist, then it doesn't make sense. But West March's style is that when you're in town, you're safe. You know what I mean? So when you're talking about blades being drawn, if you're going to draw blades, if you're going to leave town, that's in session, that's at the table, right? That's kind of part of the formula. So it's not, I've been reading a lot of Shadow City. So I think I fucking love Shadow City. Once again, let me
I was
plug
talking
Shadow
about that
City.
earlier tonight, and I was talking
Yeah.
like
Oh,
the
it's so
beauty of
good.
the beauty of the Shadow Dark system is that I'm going to be able to use that to get my wife and her friends to play Shadow City, to play his Wild West thing, which I was talking about with my friend Danny tonight over drinks. And we're able to use it for Shadow Sun, Shadow Rim. We're able to use that chassis for that.
So real quick, Chubby, if you're letting players tell you what they are doing during downtime, eventually they will cross someone in a way that should lead to a fight.
What a great thing for the next game session.
Friction.
Possibly. And
And it's
let me
player driven. Like,
and
why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad
Chubby,
thing.
let me talk real quick about you said one-on-one mini sessions. In the past month, I have run 2 one-on-one full sessions. Not quite as long as with the full party. I think they were about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Basically, what happened is when I started my game, I said as long as 2 players showed up and they were willing to hire retainers, we would safe in town. What the fuck? Go read the West Marches shit, Erudite. We're using those rules.
Yeah, that's part of the rules of the game.
Part of this. It's
Again,
just part
it's
of
a game. That's the starting point.
conceit of the game is that nothing happens in the fucking town.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, point being is I had one night where we kind of had a communications mix up and only Melkor showed up. I had another night where we kind of had the same thing and only Reed showed up. Because I have retainers and because the players now have an avenue to hire mercenaries, I was like, fuck it, man. You guys showed up. What do you want to do? Now, the session with Melkor, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. And regardless of how many people would have shown up, he was going to fucking do that. I fully believe he may have gone. Matt, if you would have said, I want to go west as far as I can go, I think in the exact same session, Melkor would have said, fuck that. I'm going here. And we would have just taken turns and switched between. He was determined. You know what I mean? The 1-player session with Reed was a little bit different. He was exploring a little bit and kind of wound up in a weird spot.
Yeah. My only
one-on-one isn't that bad.
Yeah.
You gotta have retainers. Troops are good if you're hex crawling.
My only complaint with, and this is not anything
perfect.
Has nothing to do with you, Gary. By the way, this has nothing to do with you. My only complaint,
which means,
no, it doesn't.
No, I have no idea what he's implying, but that's okay. It's fine.
Go ahead.
It is that like this is really the West Marches thing. Like I have that one thief character that I built like a fucking ranger scout guy, and we spent that game session like just mapping out everything. We avoided any dangerous encounters. We got back safely despite the threat of starvation and all that stuff. We didn't get gold or treasure or anything, so we got no experience, but everybody and I'm looking to everybody in Gary's West Marches campaign. You know what's out there because of my character. Okay. I got no experience from it. And that's not a complaint for you. And I'm certainly not asking you to fucking just give me something. That's just, I just think one of the downsides of like the West Marches style. But that's a side comment.
So Chubby, but if player A does something that should result in a fight on Wednesday and player B is turning action, how can you run sessions on Sunday and resolve combat when you run combat on Wednesday? So this was something that happened.
This is not a problem. This is not a problem.
This is not, it doesn't happen.
No, it's not.
Tried to steal from mercenary guard draws blade. That's not what you're doing there.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, real quick. I need to explain. When you're running a West Marches, the one I've played in, I got you. The one I've played in shortly, and the one I'm running now, it is, Chubby, it is incredibly procedural, right? It's very procedural. So one of the first things you have to remember is you're going to start in a safe place. You're going to go out, and before the session ends, you're going to come back. And if your characters, if you run out of time, if it's like 15 minutes and your players aren't all the way back, they're rolling on a blind travel thing, and he used starting a Thieves Guild as an example. He's drunk. Don't listen to him. Listen to me.
No, it's starting a Thieves Guild, not engaging in actual thievery. That's something you do during game session. This is an obvious distinction. Sorry, Chubby, you're wrong. Okay? I mean, you're just wrong. This is about like what players are doing outside of game session. This is like broad strokes things. What are you doing over the next week? I think you're mired in this like bro SR always on concept. You just got to divorce yourself from it. That's a conceit that's not at play here. Anyway,
what excites me is that this is usually time of night when I'm getting my ass chewed by you, Matt. And it's
I know.
kind of great.
I know you're absolved. I absolve you, Gary. I absolve you.
So OSR Dwarf West Marches is actually a new style that originated with 3E. It's pretty interesting because the conventions reduce the now I can't see it.
Oh, what are you looking
reduce
for?
The need for DM roll. Yeah. So he isn't pouring concrete, he's preparing to pour concrete. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, he doesn't get what I'm trying to say.
So yeah, and that's it. So real quick, and I understand where the disconnect is. So there is a you hear about the play loop. So when you're in this campaign, in this style of campaign that I'm running, right? It's just the rules, Chubby. You start here, you go out, you come back.
We're playing the game.
We're just playing. I know it seems like Sorry or Monopoly or whatever, but that's just the way West Marches works. Now, I will say that it will be possible for them to have a second safe place, right? They just haven't stepped on the trigger yet. The players in their play will activate a situation in which there is a second safe place, right? Downtime activities, in my opinion, and I'm not talking about domain play because all my players are low level. Like I think we have 1 4th level character. Okay. So we're talking low level here. Their actions, their downtime actions are the things they're doing in the safe place. Whereas rules is written, no bad shit's going to fucking happen to you. They're preparing, they're building. So characters do not say, I robbed the bank. That's impossible. So if you're playing true West Marches style, absolutely. Here's the way you can do it, Baron. So one way is you have one safe starting place, right? In which your players will typically, let's say you have a hex, a 6 mile hex with a town in it. In the next hex over, you're going to have a dungeon. It allows for easy travel back and forth. Now, on the wandering out there, there's going to be more dungeons, right? Out in the wild, there's going to be more dungeons. And you're going to go and you're going to discover these things. But every time you're going to come back home, this is during the session, you're going to have wilderness travel rules. You're going to follow those to the fucking T. Your players tell you what route they're taking. You roll to see if they get lost. You roll for random encounters. This is playing the game the way it was written. Now,
Yeah.
the West Marches angle on it is that, say, in a linear narrative story, if you're out 5 hexes out, you just end the session, and when you come back, it's the same day as when you stopped. But because you're running 1-to-1 time and you got to kind of keep everything sealed together, one of the conceits of the game, one of the game mechanics is that your players must return home.
I want to interject real quick. So to respond to Kars's comment and to tie it into what Disco said, because Disco Barbarian's got a great question here. Do they just want to kill a deer or a specific deer? So a specific deer would be like an adventure, much like robbing a bank. So that would be players deciding, hey, we're going to go do this thing. And then they contacted the game master, whether it's Gary in his current game or whatever game they're in, and say, hey, we're going to go rob this bank, or we're going to go hunt the questing beast. Right. And then they set up a day. If they're just, I know, I just wanted to give a hat tip because he was right in his last video. But if they're just hunting, that's kind of like a downtime activity, in which case I would abstract it to like, okay, well, you're going to go hunting. Like, what are you doing? And I might ask some questions like, what are you going to do with your kill? Is it just for you? Are you going to try to sell it? Blah, blah, blah. No, in my current game, it would be, we're going to sell it for money because that's how they think. And we would make a roll and be like, okay, you went hunting, you did this thing for a week, and over the course of the week, you found X amount of deer based on this roll, and this is how much money you made. That's kind of how I run it.
Real quick, Chubby just said, sounds like you guys want to both constrain actions for a certain range of topics while simultaneously claiming open-ended flexibility. Choose one, make a list of things they can do, or don't limit them.
I don't limit them.
So here's
like, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, I literally have no idea what stream he's watching.
And yet
it's not this one.
It's not my last downtime session, my guys, after 6 years, he said it was the most fun that they had in years.
So Chubby,
but I had constraints.
It's not. It's they never said they were only talking about West Marches. I'm sorry. I thought I had said much earlier. We're running 1-to-1 time. My campaign is running 1-to-1 time. I'm pretty sure that's what we've been talking about. So, and we're running 1-to-1 time, West Marches style. And if you're doing something like that, that's just the way it has to work, right? You either have to have a number of safe areas, and like I said, it's like playing Sorry.
Yeah, like it's
in a way it is.
It's rules as written. Like, in a weird way, Gary, you're like actually making a case for rules as written for West Marches. This is rules as written. I'm a little drunk. Sorry.
I am playing.
I'm apoplectic because Gary, you're doing a great
written.
job. Like, you're actually doing a great job with your campaign. It's just people aren't understanding like how you're trying to fit all this in with rules as written. West Marches, you know what I mean? And like, you're in this conceit, and even I mean, mine's not West Marches, but like, everyone's going back to Vulcangard at the end of the game session. Otherwise, I have a threat table of this is what happens if you're in the middle of a dungeon at the end of our game session. You know what I mean? Right. So it is kind of like West Marches.
Well,
so I don't know.
And I understand, like, so if you're doing like flex time, right? Downtime is still a thing because you're gonna finally get back somewhere safe, and West Marches is not classic, different conventions. I think true. West Marches is, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a hybrid. It's like a way to think of the classic, right? And to work it in. It's, it is odd. 1-to-1 time is so weird. When you're running a campaign and you're doing West Marches style, it is odd. And Chubby, I'm going to tell you, I understand like your basic aversion to be like, what, you can't do this fucking shit in town, because you just wrote a great fucking game about killing vampires in a city, right? Of course we're talking about West Marches. Mine is not really confused. Fuck off, dude. My campaign that we've been talking about for months is fucking West Marches, and I know I said
No,
one time.
he's criticizing what I said. It's like West Marches in the sense that players need to be back at the starting location at the end of our game session. The difference is because of my particular playing group's ability to gather to game, we play once a month. I can't just, they can't. It's not me. I would do it, but they can't. They can't just say, oh, Tuesday night, we want to go do this thing. They can't do that. And so any good game master would, be flexible. And that's how our game works.
Hey, real
So
quick, OSR Dwarf. Fuck yes. That was the whole point. Classic required D rulings on a constant, well, maybe on a constant basis. West Marches was desired to minimize the need for DM rulings except in session. Thank you very much.
I think he's right on that. Yeah.
So, look, the point of, I still think you guys are just being too vague in your description of this game mechanic. I don't know that it is a mechanic, Chubby.
Yeah.
I think that's
think
what
he's very
Chubby, I think no, hold on. Chubby, I think where we're hitting the disconnect is you're talking about a game mechanic where it was never fucking, what was it? It was like I said before, it was building strongholds, it was magical research, it was whatever.
Yeah.
And then I forget
Yep.
the guy's name. I think he was Ben Riggs that did the West Marches kind of thing. Right.
I cannot remember the name. But
Well, and he's the guy that kind of worked out this way to have this sort of moving world where it just kind of kept going. You know what I mean? And part of that required that you go back to this space. It did require these sort of constraints. And what I believe Downtime did is it gave people a chance without this sort of element of danger to kind of make plans and to,
that's why we appreciate you, OSR Dwarf. Sorry.
Hey, and so okay, so Chubby says I'm down with strongholds and magical research.
Yeah, he's approaching it from a very rules as written perspective, and that's fine.
It's fine,
but
absolutely fine.
Downtime is way more with it.
So, for example, you want me to be specific about mechanics.
I think he's
and you want to see the primer. I told you where to find the primer. So there are things such as charity work. And, getting a bonus, when you do things. Original 70s large group campaign play. Maybe, Baron, I wasn't there. But you could be right. You're also looking at things like, you could just have somebody say anything. You could have somebody tell you, hey, you know what? I want to cozy up to the guards in front of the gate. I just want to walk past them. Ben Robbins, thank you. I just want to, you could have a character say, I just want to walk past and say hi, and just be friendly and just kind of get some kind of thing going with those guards for whatever reason, right? It really, it depends. Now, it is preparation. It is also a way to gain experience in between sessions, right? Carousing, you gain experience. If you look at Acts 2, the Venture class, and Chubby knows this because he knows more about Acts than I do, but the Venture class earns XP, in between sessions from trade routes and stuff like that. So it is another way to gain XP in between your monthly sessions.
I'm not concerned about the XP issue because I'm skeptical about XP for carousing. It works for Shadow Dark, and I'll leave it at that. Drink. But I want to address this from Chubby because apparently he's the fourth guest of our show.
I told you to send him a motherfucking
link. This was about, we wanted to talk about Brian, and we, this is what we were doing today.
Brian just likes watching us argue.
It's just
we all know Brian is a secret fucking sadist. We all know this.
No, I feel, I have to admit tonight I've listened a little bit, and there's probably a little bit of detachment for me because a lot of how I've looked at this part of the game, and it's been such a a very enriching part of the game for my players, both my veteran players, but the new people that I meet and engage with, is that ultimately I don't ever like to look at this part of the game as a binary state, as a pass fail state. I really like to look at it as a friction state, and that really is just I guess a big part of where I. But I tried to put. I don't know if I did the screen share thing right,
No,
but
I haven't shared it yet because I didn't know what you were
oh,
sharing, and we were in the middle of
because
this
I'm okay with
conversation.
people picking it apart, especially in talking. Like I'm fine. I know that we have some
Dude,
system
put his chart up.
diehards, and I know that there's people that are very much rooted in a certain gospel of how things. Um,
You're gonna have to share the screen again, I think.
um, did it work when I did it?
I
Well,
know.
I ignored it because I didn't know what you were doing.
Oh, got it.
So
Okay, here
yeah,
we go. We'll do
Porn.
that.
yeah,
See if
yeah.
it. No, it's not that. No. Did that come up?
There it is. Can you
Yeah.
guys see that?
I can't see the
Probably
chat.
not.
Y'all just tell me.
Hey, we will convince Brian to post that in the server. What channel are we going to put that in the server, Matt?
I'm still fleshing it out. It's
Let's
still
put
a
it in
work
the
in
Shadow
progress.
Dark server
But
because that's what he plays.
well, no, this is a but this was I use this in my 5e game. I have not yet taken it over to Shadow Dark because I still want to kind of let carousing be its thing. I want to still. Y'all are gonna make fun of me. I want to play that rules as written, but for if y'all can see this, and I'll just kind of lightly go on this, and your eyes can dance around. And I'm not saying that everything on here is outstanding. I did try to shadow dark it with just like very brief descriptions, um, but I was inspired, I will say, by the degrees of hope and fear, and how they could be applied to this part of the game. And I think earlier, like someone was talking about, yeah, establish a bastion. If you succeed by 5, built improves morale. Cool. Success means that you did not exceed by 5, built, but someone else claims a share. Fail by 5, it's yours, but it's cursed or problematic. Failure, it's been attacked, undermined, or indebted. Does that happen right in the moment? No. Maybe that is the friction forward. And again, your mileage may vary, and we're all designers. We all have our systems. I can say honestly, with 5 players that span over 100 years worth of experience, they came away from this session and this particular table with nothing but laughter, nothing but enjoyment, massive amounts of campaign forward ideas. And I think at the end of the day, what all 3 of us are talking about and what the chat is doing their part on is showing passion. We're showing passion for how we can make this game more enjoyable, more congruent for our players. Your mileage may vary, but yeah. So I don't know if that came across. I don't know if that screen share thing worked
No,
the
it
way
did. It did.
it did.
And
Okay, I don't know.
I
New
I
computer.
actually
So
Brian, I actually agree with you. I mean I'm not a big fan of because of my experience. I'm not a big fan of just saying like this is your downtime, right?
yes.
These are your options because it didn't work the first time I did it. Like there was that one player that kind of engaged and he broke off and we did this like awesome thing. And now I'm just like leaving it up in like this free Krieg spiel sort of way. It's working. Um
That was what
I
I
think,
felt.
but
I
I'm
think,
glad it worked for your players. Okay. That and
I'm gonna
my
tell you why it worked though, and this is an important distinction. It was transparent in its potential for how it would have a fail state. That was the feedback in the back and forth with my players, was at least having a little bit of a thematic attribution to what the fail state would be like. And that was good. It was good feedback because otherwise it feels like a narrative story. Was he putting down?
No, he likes
Oh,
you. He hates
no,
us.
you're the good guy. We're
no,
the
well,
bad guys.
he's a
Yeah, yeah.
designer. We're all
Listen,
design.
okay,
No.
Chubby,
But
Matt,
I just want to know.
Yeah,
You know what? It's okay. Chubby needs charts, and that's
hold
fine.
on. No,
It's
it's
wait
cool.
a
still a
second.
work in
Chubby needs
Let me
progress.
charts.
I'm
He needs
sculpting on it.
charts.
So
let me
It's
say
fine.
something real quick. I understand what Chubby. I understand the headspace. I think I understand the headspace. Um, if you look at one, like I said, he just wrote a book about adventuring within a city. You know what I mean? Which, if I were running a game that actually had a city, um, would be a great way to do things, but not in the safe city. Like I say, it's the format of the game. The format of the West Marches style is you're safe here.
Yes.
You're not safe out there.
Yes.
Downtime activities happen in the safe space. So it's the things that you want to accomplish in that safe space. Now, I think the browsers have a whole different thing going on. I can't speak to it because I'm not playing in it, but I don't think they're not playing like a West Marches game. They're playing something different that I can't even. I'm not qualified to tell you what that is, right?
Yeah. My only concern, and like I get what Chubby's getting at. Like I like Gary. Like I'm not trying to downplay. But at the end of the day, we are, and I think a lot of fucking people in the OSR and the talking fucking heads seem to forget, especially when they fucking denigrate some of the guys back in the day who are still alive today. They're trying to put rules to the imagination. Okay. I don't mean to get too philosophical here, guys, but the human imagination is fucking limitless. For Christ's sake, we landed on the moon and we're currently talking about going to Mars.
We
You know what I
never
mean?
landed on the moon, motherfucker. We had
Get out of here. Get out of here with your liberal bullshit. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
No,
Matt,
no.
you're right. In my game tonight with my first time player, it was like playing with my niece when she was 10. She had no real constraints. Her imagination in dealing with a rotating stone pillar totem that had blow darts. She wanted to stick rope in it. That's not on your fucking character sheet.
Yeah. No,
And
you're
so,
right.
like, that's the beauty
Yes,
of
yeah.
these systems and
So
how they engage.
I
So,
caution
no limits on it.
people. I caution people, and as much as I love Alexander McCree's doing what he's doing, and I caution the fucking like heavy crunchy game designers, you got a great game, blah blah blah, but like player ingenuity is going to crash up against your rule set. And I think Downtime is the place where players oh, I'm sorry, I forgot I took chat out. Thanks, Gary.
no worries.
Downtime is a place for characters to sort of kind of like take a break from the exploration rules and the combat rules, right? And allow them to kind of breathe and do stuff.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there are conceits that need to be that need to be accepted. Yeah, if my players are picking a fight with a cult in Downtime, I'm not going to just stop and just like, okay, everybody, we have to play on Wednesday night. No, we're going to work out how this is going to play into the game. And
Talk about immersion breaking.
guess what's
Ooh.
going to happen at the next session. If they are picking a fight with a cult, there's going to be a fight with the cult. We'll deal with it at the next session. And that's the thing. And I also want to point out too, like for those of you who are so wedded to one-to-one time that you cannot be flexible with how to facilitate a game, there's a problem with you, not with the game. There's a problem with you. End of story. Go ahead.
Hey, I was gonna say one-to-one time West Marches style is not without its difficulties. It's not without its weird little things. There was a point where I was, if let me put it this way. The players who went out and took out the cave of pot-bellied beasts, had they failed to eliminate that nest, that hive, I really wanted to do something to the safe area. I wanted a retaliation. You know what I mean? Like I wanted an invasion. We had Hell March going. We had 3 sessions where we had used Hell March rules. But to do that would kind of fuck things up. So yes, I don't want to say this is without its limitations, but you have to remember you're playing with more people. Like I said, I think I'm at about 16 right now of people who have made characters, right? And I've got 3 or 4, one very active who's my goddamn hero, and another 3 or 4 who are regularly active. So I don't know, man. It's, it seems to be working for us. the players bought into the rules of the game, which state you have to be back and that this is a safe area. I was very clear about it before it happened.
They're
There
not
have
trying to
been some.
exploit it.
I cast straw man. Explain yourself. You can't just be using words like straw man. Explain what is the straw man? The straw man is
No, he's responding to me. He's responding
Oh,
to me.
sorry.
To keep
All
talking, I'm addressing it.
No, I guess what I'm saying is that you do need to be upfront with your players. This is how the game works. Right? This is just the way it is. If we were playing cards, there, you know what I mean? There it would be. You have rules for that game. If you're playing chess, you have rules for that game.
Yep.
For this style of campaign, these are the rules. And as far as anybody being like, oh, well, that's why it seems to be working for us. I remember you talking about your failures earlier. I swear to God, dude.
I can't tell if he's being purposefully obtuse or just devil's advocate.
So here's the thing, Chubby.
Know.
When I talk about my failures, I guess what I'm saying is I wish that I was playing more. That we seem to be entering this sort of low phase where like it's not really happening. And as I try to make downtime, as I try to communicate downtime ideas, I only have so many players really kind of getting into it. And I think what that is less there being something wrong with this kind of game as much as it is all of us, absolutely everybody playing this style of campaign is new to it.
We have a super chat from OSR Dwarf. Thank you so much. $5. Something for the tip jar. Yo, we need it.
I'm sorry if I'm annoying, but I don't see rules. I see loose definition. Okay, so there are rules. Actually, Chubby, you know what? Give me a second here. There are rules. They're there. Okay.
Rules. It's the rules of reality.
I will follow him into Mordor. God damn, dude. I feel like I swear to God, I'm not on. I haven't even taken drugs tonight. No, that's not true. I took some. I did take some, but nothing heavy, nothing worth mentioning. I guess
Brian, I think what you wrote was cool, and I think that's awesome. I don't, and if that facilitates your players to like engage in what you're doing, my question to you is, if they deviated from the quote unquote rules you opened up with, would you tell them no?
Well, that's the thing.
Yes or no? Would you tell them no?
Would I tell them no? No, I would not tell them no.
Okay. And this goes to,
but it would
more
be
of this like this
it would
code.
Be like,
this
it would be a building point. It'd be a long.
Yes, exactly, and that's all I'm talking about, and I think that's all Gary is talking about. It's a matter of like, how do you engage the players? Some players, I think, respond well to like no rules, like just kind of explaining, hey, you can kind of do this thing, blah 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 blah. Well, actually, what you're doing.
That's a great point.
Because this is the point I tried to make earlier. Because earlier, when I said like back in 2018, I actually like pointed to the freaking I'm a little drunk. I can't remember the DM's guide that or supplement that had the fucking downtime rules in it, right? And no one responded to it. Okay, obviously they're responding to what Brian's doing, so it's possible. I'm not saying it discounted. I'm just saying, you know. And then currently I said, hey guys, I'm not going to give you rules, just cause and effect.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 you know, and it's working. So like, tell me why am I wrong? What I'm getting from Chubby, he just wants to roll a die to tell me if
he's asking for
urine when I take a piss out in the tree is going left to the right.
He wants a mechanic.
He doesn't need it. And that's my point. You don't need it. You just need a loose understanding. Oh, okay.
Real quick.
We got another.
I love Chubby's books too. I'm about to run Shadow City. I'm like,
I love Chubby too. I got Shadow Rim right next to me. I just think he's wrong on this. Super chat, $5. Robert Stanton, thank you so much, dude, for Chubby Funster. I love his books. Well, we do too.
Real quick,
he's just wrong on this.
So here's the thing with downtime. Here is what I hoped would, and this might actually go towards your greater point, Chubby. What I had hoped to happen was for me to tell my players, much like in a dungeon or in the wilderness, I just wanted to say, what do you want to do? Within this town where it is safe and there's not going to be any fights, or within this other area that was just cleared, what do you want to do? And then from there, we could make our rulings, right? Carousing has become a system now, right? Like everybody can write out a fucking carousing chart. But the idea was, hey, you're in a safe place for a week. What do you want to do while you're there?
Yeah.
And that to me is like when you look back at the early role playing games, we're like, they never expected a player to actually read the fucking rules.
Yeah.
They expected the player to tell the GM, what do you want to do?
But
and that's and downtime being an aspect of the same game, I would think that I could ask a character, what do you want to do in this time of no fucking risk? If there's no risk, there's no die rolls. It's inconsistent and ill-defined because God damn it, you don't need to define everything.
So
why are we sharing your computer screen? Is that porn? What is that?
No, it's not. Just can you see it?
No, because it's so small. What are we?
Bring it up.
Okay, we understand the carousing rules. We don't need to see it.
What I'm just saying is even within this system, which again, it's called carousing, but it might as well be called downtime in its own way. There are the potential elements for friction. Gain an ally or enemy. Gain an ally.
That's fair enough. And if you look at the shucked oyster, that's a great example of this kind of thing. This generative downtime. Yeah.
This fucking book. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Fucking Shucked Oyster by Black Lodge, in my opinion, is probably the best campaign supplement that anybody has written.
I agree.
At least 5 years.
Yep.
And I will also tell you that I could use Shucked Oyster as a downtime book.
Yes. No, totally.
Absolutely.
It is so much glue.
I could use it as a downtime book.
It might be the greatest example of not a downtime destination. I don't
fucking
want to say
clip this,
maybe
Matt.
it is.
Clip this shit right here.
I'm gonna
Shucked Oyster is the greatest example.
Okay, look. I don't want to be too much of a capitalist, but if I'm gonna clip fucking something from Black Lives Games, I hope they pay me. Anyway, all right.
What it is.
I'll be right back.
The boys that go with that. That is a great example of how you can take the concept. What happened? Are you good? Are we good?
I was getting some weird stuff. So
yeah. I think it's because you checked out. But you're so spot on, Gary, that is a sterling platinum standard, right?
Yes.
For what this entire concept of the game can be. And to Chubby's point, it's got so much in terms of structure, and there's a cadence to it. So
I think if you look at a game like Axe 2, or you look at a game like Chubby's new Shadow City, it is procedural through and through, which I fucking dig. You know what I mean? Like Chubby has rules laid out for, what are you doing during your day? It is a total sandbox. It is a complete sandbox. And I think it's great. I'm like I said, I'm probably going to run it in about 2 weeks. But it is a different style of game. And especially, as we were talking about, sort of the West Marches style, West Marches is really just a big keep on the borderlands with strict time records kept, for different reasons. And a lot of those reasons have to do with fairness, because you want the players who are more involved to advance. You want you want to encourage player involvement. It's a whole different, it's a different game. When you put those types of rules on top of your role-playing game, it does become something different.
That's a great point. That's an important distinction, that it never does become its own game within a game, because it needs to enrich. It needs to push forward something, not be its own little sub I got to win the mini game.
And I will
That's an
say,
awful. I would
and I
never
do
wanna
want to
play
say this. I know we're way past time when we're supposed
That's
to close
fine.
down. But what I do want to say is that when you look at a game, and I want to talk about Chubby's game Shadow City, because I can't say enough good things about it. When you look at a game like Shadow City,
He's gonna have to start paying us for time.
I
Anyway,
know,
go ahead.
right? No, but when you look at Shadow City, he does have.
He's like our Ernie Hudson fourth Ghostbuster right now.
No, but it is mechanical, and it does make sense, and every aspect of the game
I
is
have seen
kind of
shit that will
defined.
turn your ass white. Anyway,
I think Acts 2 is a little bit like that as well, and those are fine games. I've mentioned this before. I don't know that Acts 2 is a great game for a West Marches style game.
No. Well, I don't know. Well,
I don't know because I haven't played it for that long.
and I don't.
But I
too
do
many fucking people read a book and then do a video and say X is awesome or X is bad.
Well,
people need to play games before they talk about it.
What I mean is, what I'm saying is that I think when I read Acts 2, what I imagine is one party, and one dude's like, I'm gonna fucking conquer the world, and another dude is like, I'm gonna take over the business on this continent, and another guy's like, I'm gonna take over the fucking mafia or the thieves guild or whatever. And I see that as sort of being like a party taking over their aspects, sort of that world, of conquering it and then being the king of it. I could be completely fucking wrong, and there could be some Acts 2 people who tell me differently, but that's how it seems to me. Just to be clear, where the decision is are being made, and not sometimes with others with unclear.
I think he's responding to someone in chat, dude.
All right. Anyway,
okay.
The whole point is I think it should be played at the end of the night, at the end of this conversation. This is what
was our intervention about? I don't understand. Who was having an intervention?
We were I think the intervention was with the Chubby. I think Chubby just doesn't understand. Like, downtime can be fun. You don't need to. You don't need a chart.
No, if you take over the Thieves Guild, don't try to use it during downtime, or you might break the world. That is not fucking true. That is not how it works.
And that sounds like an adventure. An adventure is what happens when your buddies get around the table to play. Downtime is non-adventuring activities. Okay. You know what? We're about to start doing this like thing where we just talk in circles, blah 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 blah.
I got a convention.
I just want to say, because based on the premise of tonight's discussion, Gary, I don't think your West Marches game is a failure. I really don't. I've had a lot of fun playing in it. No, we're just in the summer doldrums, and I also think that the downtime issue is more player focused. Like they're just not doing what they should do. They're like my buddy who's just like, oh, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. Just enforce consequences, and then maybe they'll do something, or maybe they won't. You can maybe you could
to them also if there's something within their character sheet. I don't know if you have access.
No. You don't want to do that, because that puts way too much onus on the game master. If the player's not interested, they're not interested. However, I think that if you just they're not new players.
Okay,
they're not.
That's different. That's on them, right?
That's a separate
A
so I think if you just maybe I don't even think that, because you have been kind of doing this. Hey guys, I'm available on this day. But I do think, broadly speaking, for our viewers, Game Master has to be engaged just as the players. If you're going to be silent, they're going to be silent. Okay. So I don't think it's a failure. I don't think you have the downtime blues. I think downtime is an interesting thing. And for fucking Christ's sake, we're 20 minutes past the hour and we're still talking about this.
Your discovery
I think we learned more about downtime during all of this because of this contentious topic. Who knew?
And I think, Gary, what you kind of came to is like in your next, whatever you do, you're going to really think on this whenever you're in the beginning of what you're starting again.
I'm going to tell you the real truth. That if I do this again, although I think I'm just going to keep doing this and trying to improve this, because I'm really having a lot of fun with this.
That's it.
Brian, you have to start your own live stream, apparently.
Don't need intervention.
But what I will say is that I think
Brian and C Fun's third watch.
So just so everybody understands, I did go and I put very specific downtime activities with mechanics in the primer. But I am also very open to a player just telling me some random shit. Like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And as long as it's happening within the safe space, within the confines of those rules, I'm gonna be down with it.
Yeah.
So like I say, I think I've got it's a problem that's has a few prongs to it. Summertime, all of my players are DMs in multiple games. And I didn't put it in from the get-go. I didn't even think about downtime. If I would have had downtime at the very beginning and would have really pushed it out there, I think that would have helped me a lot more. So, to any game masters thinking about doing this, you got to think of that. You know,
and maybe you start with something so small and just maybe it is just a carousing table. Like maybe it is just something just real basic, and you just kind of go from there. And Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
And all that being said, I do want to say, because we've been arguing with Chubby all
there
night,
it is.
I do appreciate his game that has the
Good
actual mechanics for each thing you can do during the day and all that. But it is definitely a different kind of game. You know, it is not these. It's not that same.
Well, it doesn't
fashion.
contemplate.
And I do
it
apologize.
doesn't contemplate downtime.
If I didn't clarify it earlier, I do apologize. But you know, it's not like we have a ton of new listeners. And when we talk about my campaign, it's always been this West Marches campaign. So I thought we had mentioned that. If we didn't, I guess that's on me. Anyway, ideally, I would like for there not to be a lot of mechanics for downtime. I would like for my players to come to me and say, I want to do this. Just like they do in a dungeon, just like they do in a wilderness, just like they do in a social encounter. My character does this. And then we work it out. You know, that is my ideal situation. However, the game has told me, the players have told me that they react better to solid mechanics and solid options. So,
well, with that said, my personal final take is, because I've experienced both. I've given mechanics, a lot of blah, blah, blah options mechanically, and then I've done kind of open world. I think this is not an ideal answer to the question, but I find myself falling on that sort of response. It's really going to depend on your players. I see this a lot in my really real profession as a lawyer. It depends. Who are you gaming with? Do you have players that are really interested in interacting with your world? Maybe in that case, something more free Kriegspiel is your bag. Give them the freedom to speak. If they're reluctant, if they're intimidated, give them some rules to chew on, you know, and maybe they'll bite and then do something with it. Regardless, downtime, I think, is important, and I think it's not something you should ignore. And Gary, again, I don't think your West Marches game is a failure by any stretch of the imagination. And with that said, our watch is ended. Folks, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate your comments, even yours, Chubby. Being the fucking we love you.
I'm still running your fucking game in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I know. Like, you were the fucking consummate fucking devil's advocate tonight, and we appreciate you, Brian. Thank you for coming here tonight.
Sure.
And folks, until the next time, we'll see you.
He's never gonna write that cowboy game now. Fuck.
Dude, we're recording. We're totally recording right now.
He'll do the cowboy.
This is the thing where we're like, you know, we're supposed to be sleeping.
Are we sleeping?
Yeah, we are.
I can't wait.
And then the bad guys show up.